you mentioned about you and Jim Hellwig together. When you first started in wrestling, you and I kind of talked earlier about this, about you started with Jerry Jarrett, and you and Hellwig were together as a tag team. He went on, of course, to be the Ultimate Warrior. I'm leading on to this long question to ask you, when did you first start into pro wrestling? When did you first get, quote unquote, the idea that, hey, I wanted to be a pro wrestler?
I never did get the idea that I wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Okay.
Ever once. I was approached by a guy named Rick Bassman. Many people know who Rick Bassman is. Have you ever met Rick, Tony?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm surprised, but a lot of people know him. Anyway, California guy, and I co-owned a Gold's Gym in Southern California with a guy named Ed Connors, who was the treasurer of Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, the Mecca. And we ran this Gold's Gym in Reseda at the time. And Rick Bassman came in with 3 other guys, and he was trying to break into pro wrestling. He was the manager, and he had 3 big guys, and he wanted to put a sign up in the gym, which I allowed him to do. And these guys worked out, and they were trying to recruit a 4th guy for weeks, and no bites. And one day Rick said, what about you? And I had no interest in doing that, but I was bartending in a nightclub. I was bouncing in the nightclub. I was, auditioning for movies with no acting experience whatsoever. So I was trying to get somewhere. Arnold Schwarzenegger was making all his movies. And I'm like, he didn't even speak English in the beginning, and look at him now. So if he can do it, I got to be able to do this. And so, I wanted something. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll try this. And so he talked me into going with all the guys, to the sports arena in Los Angeles. Hulk Hogan, Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik, the British Bulldogs, Adrian Adonis, and all these guys. And, to coin the 80s phrase, I tell the story the same way every time, but I mean, it was pandemonium, and,
right.
Red and yellow bandanas everywhere for Hogan. And I went, wow, this is insane. And back up a little bit, this big guy with blonde hair used to come into the gym to work out all the time, and people would freak out, and they'd say, don't you know who that is? And I'd say, I don't know who he is. He's Hulk Hogan. Who's Hulk Hogan? He's the guy from the Rocky movie. Oh, I know that guy. That was the only way I knew him. See, I didn't know anything about pro wrestling. I grew up north of the San Fernando Valley in a place called Santa Clarita. We didn't have wrestling on TV, so I had no idea what pro wrestling was. So, but anyway, we go to this big show, and I decide, this is what I want to try and do. And for me, it was all about making it big. That's all I wanted to do was make it big, like Arnold, like Hogan. And so that's where it all started.
Wow. And so now you're from out in California. How did you make your way to Middle America?
Jim Hellwig and I, Jim was not one of the original 4 guys. He came on about halfway through the wrestling camp. We went through a wrestling camp, and Jim Hellwig and I were the only 2 guys that really, we were really trying to be pro wrestlers. We were trying to figure this whole thing out. How to do the moves, how to take the bumps, and learn the psychology and all that. And so we sent out press kits, even to Japan, all over the United States. Because at the time, there were all these, regional territories all over the place.
Right.
And, we had one person reach out to us of all the ones that we sent out, like 30 of them. And Jerry Jarrett was the only one who reached out and said, yeah, I want you guys. And we had a picture of all 4 of us, on this 8x10 that we sent him. And he said, I only want 2 of the 4. And Jim was living with me in the house at the time, my house in California. He was on one line, I was on the other. And Jerry says, yeah, I only want 2. Well, which 2 do you want? Well, the picture I'm looking at, I want the 2 guys to the far left, which was Jim and me. And so, well, you're talking to those 2 guys. So he said, well, get in your car and come on out. And we started in Nashville, Tennessee, just Thanksgiving Day, 1985 was the very first match.